All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a couple of real people out there just like you and just like me. So I got the Greta shirt on today, got the Greta CD here, the Anthem of the Peaceful Army, which came out a number of years ago. I am a fan of this band. The reason I wanted to show off my gear is because there is some talk out there about a Led Zeppelin reunion with Josh Kiszka on lead vocals. Now, it's not like people probably haven't thought of this before. First of all, number one, Robert Plant isn't just going to allow this. Look, as much as Plant doesn't want to go back to the Led Zeppelin days, he keeps, every time someone asks him in the media, he just shoots them down. He's just very resistant to the idea, and he almost makes fun of his former self from time to time, but Josh and Greta Van Fleet, by the way, completely organic the way those guys got into the industry. They didn't have a record contract when they put out their first, I think it was like an EP, wasn't a full-length album from what I remember, and the thing just took off. And the fact that that kind of music got back on mainstream rock radio, and again, it's still on there. I think they still play Greta Van Fleet on some of these radio stations because, they're younger and they're still kind of an up-and-coming band. They are working on another album, and they say it's going to be very different from their earlier music, so we can, I guess, wait to see how that all shakes out. But when it comes to Zeppelin, number one, folks, these rumors, even though they're interesting, and you can go check out, I think it's Alternative Nation that has this interview, and it's Greta's former manager who has said, his name is Michael Barbie, in a recent interview, shared his idea about a possible Led Zeppelin lineup change. Barbie said that Josh Kiszka would really want to be a Led Zeppelin member. But he goes on, it's not the right time to make such a big move. Now, I don't know if he said that or the article inserted that. He goes on to say, and this is in quotes, obviously, I think the boys have the utmost respect for Led Zeppelin. My guess would be no, he wouldn't want to do it just because he would nail it. He's going to do a great job, and that's not going to help him. That's weird. I'd like to see the opposite. I'd like to see Jimmy Page and come and do a show with them. Then it doesn't have to be a Zeppelin thing. I don't know what point it would prove for Josh to be a guest singer for Zeppelin, because then it's just feeding into the frenzy. Now, as much as I like Greta Van Fleet, and I think their career trajectory is going to continue in a positive direction, I don't see the initial buzz around Greta Van Fleet. The critics started going after them hard when this album came out. It's too derivative. They're just a Zeppelin clone band. And I'm like, and so what's the problem with that? I have to say this a lot when people say, oh, that Journey song they put out kind of sounds like Journey. Just because it is Journey. So Greta Van Fleet is not Led Zeppelin. I get it. But there is this little void right now where there's nobody who sounds like Led Zeppelin. And by the way, you can say that Josh is kind of like half Robert Plant and maybe half Geddy Lee in his prime. And that's a pretty good place to be vocally. Now, again, I'm not singing the praises of Josh 100% of the time. I think he needs to work on the screeching aspect. When he goes up there to hit these high notes, someone has to say, hey, dude, you got to be a little more soulful when you sing. This is all just kind of like climbing up to the top of the ladder and just yelling as loud as you can in a tribal way. And it's a little irritating because some of the music on these albums that they've put out tends to be, sort of different tempos. You've got harder rocking stuff, you've got softer stuff. And the softer stuff, especially when you think of like Led Zeppelin, like Hey, Hey, What Can I Do, for instance, which is just an incredible song. And yeah, Plant goes up, but he comes back down. He's able to kind of do it all without sounding way out of place in the song. At times, I think Josh, he sounds a little too much. Like he's just turn it down from 11 to 10, Josh. It's good to know he has the vocal chops to do, like Whole Lotta Love. If Josh was out there singing for Zeppelin, he'd have no problem with that song, which is exciting. As a fan, to go see Led Zeppelin with a singer who can do all of this stuff, that would be kind of cool. And the manager saying, well, we don't want to feed into the frenzy. I mean, I'm wondering if too much time has gone by. I don't know if you've seen what Jimmy Page looks like these days. And I'm not even sure he'd be up for going out and doing a tour. Maybe he would do a one-off show or something. I'm sure John Paul Jones, he's got nothing to do. And Jason Bonham, before Jason Bonham knew for sure something was going to happen, he would be en route to the location because he's just totally into this. And I think he would love to be part of a Led Zeppelin reunion. I'm pretty sure, though, he'd probably want his dad's best friend, Robert Plant, to be the singer. And there's no question, though, that Plant is not capable of performing these songs in the original key and at times has made fun of his former self, almost like, oh, yeah, I used to be that tribal screamer, but no longer. I'm sophisticated now. I'm hanging around with more sophisticated musicians, and I don't sing that way anymore, which is a partial admission that, time has worn his vocal cords, which is totally expected, totally understandable when you're Robert Plant. I mean, I noticed a difference in Plant in the late 1980s. I mean, he was starting to kind of do different things, and his voice would crack a bit when he was trying to sing the older Zeppelin songs, which he used to do, by the way, on tour. I saw Robert Plant on the Now and Zen tour, which was pretty surreal. And, he did all of his current material, but he also went back and did some Zeppelin tunes. And that was kind of a bucket list item to see Robert Plant in concert. But, I don't think Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones and Jason Bonham, they're all going to be that excited about a Josh Kiszka Led Zeppelin reunion. Maybe to put the name Led Zeppelin out there with Josh Kiszka singing, I think you do sell tickets. I mean, you probably sell more tickets than Greta Van Fleet does, unfortunately, but it's the way of the world. And there has been, a pretty strong hunger for this, I would say, since that Zeppelin reunion back in the late, 2008-9 area there. I'm not sure when exactly it happened, but I remember people were talking about it, and this could be a reunion. And of course, it didn't happen. Like a permanent reunion, it never materialized. But to put Josh out there as the singer, and he's able to sing everything, that's pretty cool. I mean, look what's going on with Skid Row right now. Skid Row, not a band that has a huge radio catalog per se, but if you're going to do those songs, you need a singer. And right now they've got a singer who's just absolutely spot on, like Skid Row revival. Like if you didn't like Skid Row, you might get into them now, because they've got this singer who does all the old stuff, and they've got new stuff out there, which is really good, which of course the critics aren't into because they probably didn't like Skid Row to begin with. Just like the critics aren't into these guys. They're just not. It's derivative. Oh, they're just, doing this old format that nobody likes anymore. Really? It's the format that nobody likes anymore? How about if radio wasn't so monolithic today and they allowed for other styles to be on rock stations? But this is why rock is struggling right now, because you've only got one side of it that's able to flourish. And stuff like Greta, although breaking through and doing well, it's like a one-off thing, or a one-band brigade. You need more bands doing this, and you need more bands that are being played on the radio. Dirty Honey was the other band that, if you like Aerosmith and the Black Crowes, I mean, it's just amazing how good Dirty Honey is. In fact, I like Dirty Honey more than I like Greta Van Fleet, believe it or not. But in any event, Aerosmith could be in big trouble. So these are going to be the heirs of the music that we used to listen to. And there aren't a lot of them out there. And I think one last Led Zeppelin reunion with Josh as the singer would be interesting, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I would doubt it. I know Greta has a new album coming out next year, I believe. They're working on it, putting on the final touches from what I've read. So again, I would say go listen to Greta Van Fleet, go listen to Led Zeppelin, but I don't think you're going to get the combination of both. Although I would be for it. I would be totally okay with it. I just don't think that, Robert Plant would ever let someone else try to fill his shoes. That's my theory. In any event, thanks for watching the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to it. You can hit that little bell for notifications for when those videos drop. The Income has started to do this again. And, it's after the holiday season. Advertising budgets are drying up all over the place. I would say we are in a global recession, so I can understand why people aren't advertising. And then there's this little algorithm thing, which isn't too kind to me because I start to talk about politics that certain people I think don't like. So that's just a theory. Could be that I'm just, I don't know. I'm Harmless Dave, so I don't understand why anybody would want to throttle back this amazing content that I put out each and every day. All right, people, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.